Happy Valentine's Day. And I got to say, I, for one, am super happy that Twitter banned all hate today. Welcome into the PHNX show, brought to you by our friends at Bet365. It is never ordinary with Bet365. It is a PHNX Suns show, not just the general PHNX show. I'm Espo, that's Stephen, and we are spreading the love today, not in the first segment, but later on in the show, we'll spread the love. Stephen, how are you on this fine Valentine's Day?
Doing great. It's always fun to go into the All-Star break because it allows for the creatives to take the foot off the gas, at least in some capacity. Shout out to those that are at the All-Star game because they don't get to do it in the same capacity, but they still get to a little bit. It's a fun time. It should be a celebration of the world's greatest basketball players all being in one hub for a couple of days together.
Are there analytics to love?
Yes, there are. Actually, yes. I'm not privy to all of them as I am in
I don't think
basketball,
any of us.
But yes, they are.
Hey, I want to start this off. I got my hands on some rejected Suns Valentines, right? Sometimes I worked in social media for the Suns. Sometimes you come up with an idea and it just isn't good enough to go out. So, Noah, I'm going to let you roll with whatever ones you want to, but let's take a look at the first one here. It's simple. It's Mike Budenholzer, and it says, roses are red, violets are blue. We'd talk smack, but we're not better than any of you. So, I mean, that's just an honest Valentine there. Not so much love, just more admitting one's own fault, which I think is part of that love analytics.
I mean, the tough love is some of the best love that can be given, especially if it's a straight shooter.
Let's take a look at another one here. This one didn't make it either. This one has got Matt Ishbia on it. It says, I've got a second apron. Let's try to cook together.
I like this one a lot.
You like that one? I mean, that is kind of fun.
There are jokes that can be made about having too many cooks in the kitchen. With that one, you could just kind of run with it.
Hey, whatever you're into on Valentine's Day, all right? We got another one. I believe we got two more to go here in the rejected Suns Valentines. Let's take a look at this next one. It's James Jones and says, are you older and famous? You're my type.
He does like them old.
He does. He loves them older stars, so I can't see why that one got rejected. Can you?
I do not. That was hilarious.
Let's check out our final one here. Our Suns rejected Valentines. It says, it's KD, and it says, I didn't leave my heart in San Francisco. It's only with you until the summer. I can see why that one got factual, probably, but I can see why it wound up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I can see why, too. We'll find out and revisit it come June or July.
King Nacho, I'll give you some love. He says, this would be Bradley Beal. You steal the money from my cap space. It's pretty funny. I'll give you that. All right. So having a little fun on this Valentine's Day. I don't think I can read that one, King Nacho. Wow. That would definitely be a rejected Valentine's Day card. If you're listening on audio, go back and look at the chat at this point on YouTube, and you can enjoy a rejected Valentine's card from King Nacho, another one from his beloved Bradley Beal. Look, we're going to spread a little love. We're going to talk about all-time Suns, Suns All-Stars here in a little while. Also talk about why we fell in love with the game of basketball. But unfortunately, it's that time of year where we have to give out some grades for that first half of the season. And I want to go through most of the roster. Look, guys like Ty Washington, Colin Gillespie, I don't want to give grades to because I think they're an incomplete, right? Not fair to grade them. But let's start with Coach Mike Budenholzer. What grade would you give Mike Budenholzer for the performance so far this season?
It's gonna be an underwhelming C+. And I feel like even that might be higher than some people would. But I understand that some of the things that we want to see from him sometimes comes at the mercy of a lack of execution from his players. And that doesn't absolve him because you have to be able to read the roster that you've inherited. But that also is twofold because it's not just on him. So I understand and I can hear reasons why people would give him less than that. But I feel like the offense is still good enough to where if their defense was even middle of the pack, they would be a top 6 team in the West right now.
Yeah, I think you're being kind in that.
Maybe you should have did it yesterday instead of today.
I'm probably
a little lovey-dovey.
probably D+,
yeah,
C-. I mean, probably leaning closer to that D because we thought that the offense would be significantly better, that there'd be a system. We didn't think that the defense would fall off as much as it has. And then on top of it, we thought that this could help fix the vibes because everybody wanted to point the finger at Frank Vogel for that last year. And none of that has transpired. So, yeah, it's in that D range. I mean, you could talk me into a D- there with all of that because it has fallen so short of where we had hoped and where, quite frankly, many expected it to be. So I can't go as high as you, and I'm feeling the love today too for Valentine's Day. So maybe I would have been an F yesterday, but not today. I'll bump it up to that D-. Front office. Then we'll get into the players, but I'm gonna put it at front office as a whole. I'm not gonna break it up individually because we really don't know who's doing what, but front office as a whole.
The front office for me gets a C-. And though they did what they could with what they had at their disposal, especially considering the constraints of the second tax apron, et cetera, it's not enough in the right capacities around your big two, but especially your big three as well. And because of that, we've seen a lot of the inconsistencies, and they're in a situation now where they have to rock with what they have, unless they're looking to add something marginal from the buyout market, which that's not going to make a crazy impact, the context shifting impact for your team. So they're in a situation largely because of the roster that they have fielded right now. And because of that and the lack of size and the issues they'll see, C- is the best I could give on that one.
Again, you're being so kind. I'm not going to be. Look, if you were simply putting together a roster on paper in a spreadsheet for fantasy basketball, they accumulated talent well. All right, you could say that. But this is an F because if they were chemists, they would have burned the whole building down. There is no chemistry with any of this team right now. Plus, you brought in another head coach, and it doesn't seem to have worked with the guys that you've had for whatever the reason it may be. But those are things that you should have some foresight on, especially the coach, because you have an idea of what your roster is. You know what a coach is. You can go talk to other people that have worked with him. I'm gonna give the front office an F for where they stand. And you may have been able to talk me into that D range, but not doing anything of major consequence at the deadline and botching it the way you did at the deadline. I can't give you better than an F. That's where it is. I mean, and I don't care what you do on the buyout market. It's not going to be enough to swing that for me, just to be fair on that front. Let's take a look.
Better judgment for me. I'm going D-, actually. So that's a whole letter grade jump downward. And I'm reneging and changing it to the D- because of the fail at the trade deadline. I feel like there were options they could have made now that I'm thinking about it more, but also the repercussions, not ramifications, repercussions for your decisions and negotiations that might put your team behind where you are at this moment in time in terms of status as a contender coming into the summer.
Yeah, look, I don't want to go through each bench guy and give a grade, but let's go with the bench as a whole. When you look at that second unit, and I won't include Bradley Beal. We'll do an actual grade there, but that bench unit where it was supposed to be, where do you stand on that? Because I struggle with it because you see kind of individual things that you go, okay, that wasn't awful. Most of these guys are doing certain things, but where do you rank it or rate it as a total?
Because the expectations were so low for that group coming into the season, and they've exceeded those expectations sometimes exponentially on a game-by-game basis, I'm giving them a solid B-.
Okay.
Grayson Allen, as soon as he came into his shooting space that he was in last season, really helped to uptick that. The blue-collar boys, the original two, Royce O'Neal and Ryan Dunn, their impact has been felt in multiple capacities, starting or coming off the bench. Mason Plumlee, albeit he has his moments, generally speaking, he's been solid for this team, playing the way that they need their reserve big too. Same thing with Oso Ighodaro when he's actually been given minutes. Monte Morris, when he's actually been given minutes, has played well too. So comprehensively for that bench unit, I give him a solid B-.
Yeah, I think I'm probably at a C+. The center position, Mason and Oso, you've wanted a little bit more from. There's been inconsistency, some of it coaching, which is tough to blame on a guy like a Monte Morris. But I find it tough to put the onus on them necessarily. I think they're a C because they've done as much as they've done well enough, but not great and not good enough where you needed them to be to put you a level higher than where you find yourself. Let's go to Bradley Beal. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. What are you giving Bradley Beal in terms of grades?
The most average you could give is a C, and that's what I'm giving Bradley Beal. He's had his positive moments. Some of those positive moments have not come with the scoring, which you value most from him. He's done a ton of the ancillary things more consistently than anything else, and while that is very good, a big three construct can't have one of their big three playing as a role player. They need that third big star to play like that in the respect for the team that they need to, put them where they want to be. So I'm giving Brad a C on this.
I struggle because Brad's done what you've asked. Some of it is injuries, which can I put that directly on you? I guess your availability is part of what you'd be graded on. If I'm a student, I can fail a class if I don't attend enough. I'm gonna give him a D because I'm gonna give him a little bit of a break from being even further down because he accepted going to the bench, which most guys with his time in the league wouldn't, right? But the injuries, the inconsistency of play, I don't think I can go higher than that, which is going to be tough because it kind of skews some things. But obviously, Yusuf Nurkic was an F. But let's go to Nick Richards, who is now in that starting center position. Where do you kind of slot him for what he's been able to do?
Yeah, Nick, coming out of his first 2.5 weeks, I couldn't really give him a solid grade because of the inconsistencies around him, as well as with the head coach. And now about a week and a half, 2 weeks from that 2-week mark of his time as a Sun, it's still hard to gauge, but I had some expectations. I know my expectations were a lot lower than most people's on Nick in respect to giving him space to grow versus having it be too high and then being, underwhelmed. I got to give him a C+. I feel like he's left more to be desired in some respects, but at the same time, his fit in terms of stature and being a change of pace, being more brute strength than it is finesse, and the hit that's had for the team, it's been felt in multiple respects. So for me, I give him a solid C+.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I mean, he's come in, and while it's been inconsistent, he's done what has been asked of him. He did what many of us expected, like we've talked about. raise the floor,
Yep.
right? It wasn't gonna change everything, but it was gonna help on the boards and defensively. He's lived up to that, so I'm gonna give him a C+ on that. Tyus Jones. It's this one. My instinct is an F, but again, there's things that come into play here. Coaching, being put in a certain position to succeed.
Yep.
But it also feels like as we've gone along, it's devolved more and more. He's a complete net negative on the defensive end of the court, which we kind of expected. But when you're not adding additional stuff on the offensive side, you're not valuable to the team.
Yep.
I got to give him an F+. I don't even think there is an F+. I think you just get an F, but I'm going to give him that slight tick up because part of it is on the way he's being used, but it's on the player to make the most of the minutes, and it's devolved continually. I mean, he just had his most turnovers in a game at 6 the other night, and that's just unacceptable at this point.
Yeah, they're 3 to 4 points better when he's off the floor offensively, and they're 3 to 4 points better when he's off the floor defensively.
Which is insane.
That paints the picture itself. He still, by advanced metrics, ran a fairly efficient pick and roll, though that does not match the eye test, nor does it match the way that the defenses continue to guard him.
No.
His three-point shooting has been good, looking at the numbers, and again, the way that teams are guarding him and the timing of his misses for the team when he's out there,
it's not timely at all.
The impact is not there. It's not there. And for those reasons and the way that they've kind of snowballed over the last month or so now, he's getting a C- from me.
I love how I'm taking a hard time for giving an F+. I'm like, I feel bad. I don't want to just say F. So yeah, give him the plus. I'm not going D-. That takes it into another level. So now we've got the big boys
And
left.
I feel like that C- is fair real quick for him just because, again, the things around him. You knew he wasn't a player that was going to raise the ceiling. He raised the floor more than anything and tried to bring some organization. They've inhibited him from having that impact in some respects, especially in clutch time play when the turnovers are ramping up for them. And then they're putting him in the corners like we said they shouldn't be. So some of it is him, some of it is not him. For those reasons, I'm kind of stuck in the middle on the C-.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I have to count injuries against Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
I got to count not making the most of your minutes when you're actually getting them on it. So that's why I went so low. We're down to the big two. Kevin Durant. I'll start. It's an A. You can't go anything other than an A when it comes to Kevin Durant and his efforts. He's shown up. He's played at a level that is still on par with what you expect from Kevin Durant. It's been greatness. And, sure, have there been the turnovers? Yeah, those are things that come along with his game at times, and that's fine. Like, we accept it when that happens. So I give him an A. I don't know that there's an argument that you could do anything other than that A range for him.
Yeah, anything less than an A is not looking at his game through the right lens or looking at the team through the right lens either. He is the team's MVP so far, and he is the team's sole all-star this season as well. And he's played to that too. He wasn't just gifted that, he went and earned it. A+ for me. I know he's had weaknesses, but I feel like his two-way impact has been felt. The advanced metrics don't suggest it because they take into account the lineups he's playing with.
Yeah, the team
but his
defense.
his individual performance defensively, his defensive decision-making has been very good, and his impact has been there. We talk about stocks. He's always been at north of 1.5 a game, essentially, if you're a bettor. So that's almost money in the bank every night, and then he scores the ball like no other on the other end.
Yeah, you might as well call him Wall Street because he's so good with the stocks, all right? I mean, that's just the way it is with Kevin Durant. Devin Booker, I'm going to go B+ because of the start. I think there were some questions about the way he played in that pocket. He's turned it around, played great, has been more Devin Booker, and everything that you've expected. His counting stats are great right now. He's gone back to where you expected. So I'll give him a B+. He's on the verge of that A if he keeps it up. But Can't go higher than that right now.
Yeah, it's been tricky for Devin Booker this season if we're looking at it comprehensively. The last 2.5, 3 weeks, I've lamented the fact that he's been a top 12, top 10, top 5 player even in a couple of game stretches within the last 2 weeks. But comprehensively, a B- for me. I feel like he's left some to be desired past the offense on the defensive end of the floor. He's someone I've always seen that can raise to a certain level on defense, at least in timely manner, if not keeping it in a sustained way. He's a plus athlete. It surprises people, but he has these reads that he makes at times defensively where it shows. Chase down blocks at times, shooting the gap for steals in the passing lane like D-Wade used to at times. And I feel like he can lean more into that. I know he has a heavy load to carry on the other end of the court, but the other side of the court is where if you put up a certain level of effort, the baton will be picked up from the rest of your teammates. And from that part, as well as the absence of the offense at times earlier this season, it kind of balances out the scale to a B- for me.
I think that's fair. I think that it'll be very interesting. I've used that word a lot today. Very interesting to see if they take Tyus Jones out of the starting lineup. If Devin Booker's defense changes because of that, because everybody's become slightly better, and then his effort, I won't say effort, his ability takes another step. Granted, he'll be running point on the other end, but he's been doing that primarily anyways.
Yeah, you take Tyus out of the starting lineup. Now Devin Booker's guarding guards more than he is guarding forwards, so that helps. But the other big thing with him, the playmaking. This is by far his best playmaking season. The amount of 3-point shots generated from his passes, primarily or secondarily, it's been the top 3 in the league in multiple stretches. He is getting it done. He is getting it done. So if ever there was a time to suggest that point book might be the direction the team goes for the rest of this season, it would be right now.
Yep, I agree. We got plenty more coming up. We had to give a harsh reality to start. But on the other side, we're going to play a little fantasy basketball. We're going to look at the 26 All-Stars the Suns have ever had and put together a starting 5 plus a bench of the best Suns All-Star team that we can compile. That's coming up next. You know what's coming up soon? The best race in NASCAR. I love Phoenix Raceway. You can't tell me there's a better venue to watch NASCAR than there. The Shriners Children's 500 is coming up out there March 7th through 9th. And if you have not been out there, I cannot recommend enough taking the time, spending part of your weekend or your entire weekend out there and watching the race and all the other things that they have going on. Stephen, one of the coolest things is they have kind of a bleacher area built in to the mountain that's right there on the track, but there's not seats and stuff. There's tiered levels. You can bring your tent, your pop-up, sit right out there.
On the mountain?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool, and just watch the race. You got to get out there and check it out. It is the best in NASCAR that are going to be out there. Get your tickets now at PhoenixRaceway.com. And our friends at Bet365 want to make your viewing experience that much more fun, because it's never ordinary at Bet365. Over 90 million people use Bet365, and there's a reason for that. They live stream over 780,000 events each week, or each year, excuse me. That'd be a lot each week. I don't even think there are that many in a week. But you can have the best live in-game betting as well with Bet365 because they pioneered it. It's that fantastic with them. New customers right now, you're getting 150 in bonus bets when you bet 5. Win or lose, sign up, use the promo code PHNX365, deposit $10 and place that bet for $5 to get 150 in bonus bets. Again, win or lose. And then once you get those bonus bets, you can take a bet on the NBA, and if you choose your team, they go up 20 points. Even if they lose, you're cashing in. So make sure to get that new customer deal now. $100 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up, use the code PHNX365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get 100 in bonus bets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 21 and over, physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. So we teased it before the break, and we are going to talk about the all-time All-Stars for the Phoenix Suns. 26 of them in total were actually there before, made it to the All-Star game. Kevin Durant, the lone representative today, or this weekend, pardon me, to make it there. How many times do you think a center made it from the Phoenix Suns into the All-Star game?
Without looking,
or how many centers? I won't say times. That's complicated. But how many centers were in the 26 names on the?
Are we considering Stat a center?
I will consider Stat a center because that was where he was playing when he got it.
For sure. 7.
It's 3.
Oh,
Alvin Adams.
Yeah.
Amari Stoudemire.
Stat, Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal.
That was it.
Those were the 3 players listed as centers to ever make it to the All-Star game. As a Sun, we've had some bad centers in this. This. So the premise here is simple, Stephen. We're going to bring up the tier maker. We've got tiers of guard, forward, center, and bench. All right. We're going to do 2 guards, 2 forwards, 1 center, which based on this list is one of 3 guys. And then we're going to pick some bench players to represent us from here. The goal is to put together the best All-Star team that is only composed of guys who went to the All-Star game as a Phoenix Sun. So Noah, let's get that on the board and take a look at this. The first guy that we've got on the list that I want to know, are you putting in your guard or forward? He played both, is Dick Van Arsdale, the original Sun. Would you put him in your all-time All-Star team?
Yes. I would put him at forward specifically for me. That's where I would have Mr. Van Arsdale.
You put him in there as a forward. All right.
Yeah.
I can, let's put him there for now. I might have some arguments. I got some thoughts.
There's some fun arguments to be had there for sure.
I think he certainly deserves a chance at this. Gail Goodrich, Hall of Famer, played a couple seasons here as a Sun, made the All-Star game once before he went on to greatness in that other purple city.
As so many have.
This one's tough. If the Suns didn't have such a historic group of point guards, he probably makes it. I don't think he even makes it on my bench, though, when you look at it.
Nah.
With
all due respect.
Yeah,
with all due respect, but we are talking about some all-time greats at that point guard spot for the Suns roster.
100%. Connie Hawkins,
another one.
Forward. He doesn't make my starting lineup, but he is definitely on my bench in this All-Star game. He was unbelievably athletic. He did things on the court that were a generation ahead of their time. I think he may have, obviously he didn't get to the NBA until he was 28. All sorts of issues that led to him not being able to. Played with the Harlem Globetrotters in the ABA, won an MVP in the ABA. If he had come in earlier in his career, in his prime, maybe, but I think this version of Connie Hawkins that was an All-Star with the Suns is on my bench.
Yeah, that's actually where I first learned about Connie and doing my research as a young boy. Through the ABA, obviously the Dr. J ties with all of that, but even more so with the Harlem Globetrotters and the cultural representation there. So for Mr. Hawk, I do think it's appropriate, especially considering where he was in his athleticism by then, that he would be in the reserve realm, not in that starting tier.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said he was basically Dr. J. He was very much like Dr. J.
It's just the uber athleticism and the creativity.
Yeah, how he'd palm it and move it around.
Different.
Yeah, I highly recommend, if you have not watched Connie Hawkins ever, to go watch some of his highlights. I also believe the book that he wrote, that was written about him, was called Foul, and it kind of explained how he kind of got banned from pro basketball for a while. Fascinating story. Paul Silas, another forward for the Suns. It was great in his time with the team. I don't put him on my bench. So
I don't know if he makes it to the bench either. It's not unlike point guard, that wing/forward group is crowded for the Suns in terms of the history.
Charlie Scott next, a forward. He was a guy that number 33 has had some greats in Phoenix Suns history. He wore it. Alvin Adams wore it. Ray Hill wore it. It is a number that has carried some heft, and he was the first. He's a Hall of Famer. He was one of the prolific scorers in that 70s group for the Suns. He did wind up getting dealt to the Celtics, so he actually was on the winning end of the 76 finals, but brought Paul Westphal in. I think I put Charlie Scott on my bench because of his scoring ability. He was next level when it came to scoring. You can disagree with me, and I'm okay with that.
No, it's not.
Because we're going to run out of spots eventually. There's only 12.
That's my
max,
only thing. I'm like, we only got so many spots, and there are a handful of bucket getters with respect to Mr. Scott's entire resume, but there are a handful of bucket getters in this list of names. We still got
this is true.
25 names to go, 26 names or 20 names to go.
Yeah. Let's slot him on the bench for now, and I think he may get bumped, but let's give him his due respect.
For sure.
Alvin Adams, one of the greatest Suns of all time, held the all-time scoring record for about 3 weeks before Walter Davis passed him, and now he's third, I believe, thanks to Devin Booker on that list. But Alvin Adams is one of the great Suns, played his entire career, won a Rookie of the Year, was obviously an all-star since he's on this list. He's been a lifelong Sun. He stayed with the organization after and runs the arena now. I want to put him as my starting center. I can't. I can't because Amari's going to have to get there because I don't think I can put him as a forward. But I want Alvin on my bench, and I will fight tooth and nail if you don't agree with me on that one.
I think we are very similar in the front court for the ultimate starting group. So with that in mind, do we go reserve, or is that a reach too?
I think we put him on the bench.
Okay.
I think we put him on
There's
the
some
bench.
active forward thinking going on here.
Yeah. I have to. I have to.
For sure.
I can't insult him by making him a starter and then go, surprise, no. Especially in a position we already said there's only 3 guys that ever played there. Paul Westphal, guard. Also coached the All-Star team as the Suns coach. Again, another guy I would love to put in there as a starter. I can't justify it. Beloved, did great things. Yes. He is on my bench, and that is as far as I can put him.
No disrespect.
I feel like we have to go with that. This whole list is no disrespect.
Yeah,
but...
yeah, it is. It is, and I think you can pay homage and still acknowledge that there might be a better direction if we're comparing it to the entire team's history.
Yeah, agreed. Walter Davis again. Again,
another
this
one.
Is tough. Guy was the all-time leading scorer till last week.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable in his time here. Some off the court issues. Obviously caught in that scandal in the '80s. Again, I got to put him on my bench, but I'm running out of room on that bench.
How many guards do we have on the bench right now?
Too many, I think. We got Westphal. Let me look.
Yep.
Westphal. Did we? You had Dick Van Arsdale in the starting
as a forward.
As a forward,
yeah.
Gail Goodrich, we didn't put on the bench. So we've got 3 guards right now. Yeah.
We're running out of space.
We're going to run out of space. There's a couple guys coming up that I'm not going to put on the list.
For sure.
So let's put Walter Davis on the bench for now.
Okay. I'm with it.
Truck Robinson, forward for the Suns in the late 70s, early 80s. I'm not putting him on my bench. I'm not putting Truck, great name in Suns history.
Noah's favorite nickname in history of nicknames. Actually,
Yeah, you gotta put 4x4 Rob on there. Come on.
4x4.
No, not 4x4 Robinson. He's not going on my list. Dennis Johnson, another
All-wheel
guy
truck, baby.
with Suns and Celtics ties here. Great player.
Mm-hmm.
All due respect, didn't make my bench.
Do you feel like he was known more for his tenure with the Suns or the Celtics?
Celtics for sure.
Because of that, no disrespect, but because of that, he can't be on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's just simply all the success that they had with the Celtics, there. Maurice Lucas, I think he falls in the Truck Robinson category. He does not make my bench either.
I'm right there with you on that one.
All right. And then let's go Larry Nance. This
Senior.
one, he's known. When you think Suns All-Stars, you think Larry Nance, not because of the game, but because of the dunk contest.
Yep.
Does that shift your opinion on where he should be and if he should be on this?
Nope.
So do you have him on
I do
your
not
bench?
have Mr. Nance on here, unfortunately.
I tend to agree. Although that dunk contest, if we're saying all-time dunk contest,
yeah, he's right there.
there.
He is right there 1,000%.
he gets my nod for All-Star Saturday night if
For
we
sure.
had that on the list. Last one, and then we're going to take a quick break. Tom Chambers, TC, does he make your team?
Needs some shooting out there if you're thinking about it from a roster building standpoint. So with that in mind, I'm going to say yes. But what is the space we're working with now? I need to make sure I'm paying attention to our actual space that we have on the roster.
I'll put him on the bench for now.
For sure.
And then you take a look during the break, and we'll do more of this on the other side. And we'll do more of this on the other side. I love when I catch Noah off guard. That's one of my favorite parts of the program. If you're listening on audio, Noah's already cut out that silence, so you have no clue what's going on right now. I got to tell you about our friends over at Cornbread Hemp. They sent me some of this, and I love it. All right. I love a lot of our sponsors. Cornbread Hemp is right up there. Looking for a healthier way to relieve aches and pains? Yes, I'm old and I need that. Well, getting a better night's sleep? Sure, I always like more sleep. Try Cornbread Hemp's USDA organic CBD gummies. They taste fantastic and they work fantastic. Their CBD gummies are the highest quality full spectrum gummies on the market. They help with stress. I have a lot of that. They help with better recovery. I need that. And they help with improved sleep, which is never a bad thing. They're full spectrum, USDA certified, made from flower only, never the whole plant. You don't want the whole plant in there. You just want the good flower in there. Third-party lab tested for potency, terpenes, and contaminants. Vegan, dairy-free, and gluten-free with no artificial flavors. So why wouldn't you want to hop on this? If you want to give Cornbread Hemp a try, they're offering PHNX listeners 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX and use the promo code PHNX and checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use the promo code PHNX for 30% off your first order. This is the good life. And you know what? Sometimes you smell. It happens. All right? It just happens. And sometimes that's awkward, just like silence when you call for an ad break, right? And if that's the case for you, our friends at Mando have you covered. Whether you want to, have your pits smell better, your balls, your thigh folds. I don't know about that one. I'll have to look into that. Belly button, butt crack, feet. I've never smelled my belly button, so I wouldn't know, but all right. Maybe you need it there. It's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. You can choose from a variety of scents like bourbon leather if you want to smell like the greatest couch ever. Bourbon leather is right there for you. Clover woods if you're a man of the woods. Or Mount Fuji. Wouldn't you want? I mean, I want to smell like Mount Fuji. That sounds fun. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash or deodorant wipes. And right now, your new customers are going to get $5 off a starter pack with the exclusive code PHNX. That equates to 40% off your starter pack. Use that promo code PHNX at mando.com. At shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Fellas, I know y'all out there pulling up to y'all Valentine's Day dates last minute, coming from work or what have you. Don't pull up stinking.
Yeah, no, bring one of them. Bring one of them Mando wipe packs and just take care of whatever you need.
They got hashtag options for you.
Sean wants to know, what about forehead? Use one of the wipes. It says whole body.
Put it
Forehead.
wherever.
Last time I checked, forehead counts as part of the body.
It does.
I don't know many people with smelly foreheads, but if you got one, go for it.
Use
Why
it.
not, right?
If it stinks, put it to use.
Exactly. If it stinks, put it to use. That is coined by Stephen. There, Kevin Johnson. Let's go there again. Point guard, a very deep position.
Yep.
We've got plenty of great ones coming up on this list. We already said no to Dennis Johnson and Gail Goodrich, and technically Paul Westphal is a point guard. He was on the bench. Are you putting Kevin Johnson on your list?
I'm not.
Neither am I.
Again, no disrespect to the greatness that is on this compilation of names, but it's just more firepower to come.
Oh, this list gets
no Kevin Johnson.
No.
Hey, you chill out over there.
Yeah,
Bruh.
wait till you see the rest of the list. Actually, you can see it. You built it, so you know. Dan Marley. Look, if I were putting together best bar owners in Phoenix, if I was putting together guys who went to Central Michigan that make Noah
Yeah,
nod
baby.
his head,
Yeah, baby.
I would put him on there. If I was saying guys who had a swimsuit calendar that he had his shirt off in the 90s, I'd put him in there. Yes, there is a Dan Marley shirtless swimsuit calendar. Google it. You can find it if you're into such things. But he does not make my all-star team.
This one was tough, but again, because of the firepower in that guard group, I'm on the fence with it, but I'm leaning more towards no than yes right now.
He is a big Noah for me. Jeff Hornacek, shooting guard, and he technically was a point guard too his first year, but shooting guard as an all-star. Definitely not making it in as Suns coach, but
Oh,
do
no.
you consider him as player?
No, definitely not as coach.
I mean,
absolutely
if
not.
Charles Barkley trade bait, yes, he'd get in there, but are you putting
Yes.
him in as a player?
No, I'm still not putting him in as a player. Again, too much firepower at that guard position.
Neither am I. Charles Barkley, I'm slotting him in as a forward right away.
That's no doubt about it.
No ifs, ands, or buts about that one. And if you're arguing it, you obviously did not watch the mid-90s Suns.
You got to get to know him before you got to TNT.
Yep. Jason Kidd, point guard. Yes, Jason Kidd did play for the Suns. You probably remember with the Mavericks and the Nets and the Mavericks again. But he did, in fact, play for the Suns and at the peak of his powers.
Yeah, J. Kidd is all-time great point guard. No worse than top 8, in my honest opinion, if you want to talk about point guards. But unfortunately, there's a couple of point guards that are ahead of him on that all-time point guard list for me that are still without being named yet. So
I'm putting Kidd over the guy that you're going to fight tooth and nail for.
that's crazy.
I'm putting Jason Kidd
That's
on there.
crazy.
We'll have the argument when we get down to a gentleman that I know is
for his
beloved to
tenure
you.
as a Sun.
As a son.
That's still crazy for me.
I don't know, man.
We'll talk
I don't
about
know.
it. We'll talk about
Sean
Is he
Marion,
starting?
I think this
it. Is he starting?
is no.
No.
Jason Kidd is not starting. He's on my bench. We're gonna fight it out for who's starting here. I think in somebody's mind shortly.
Yep.
Sean Marion,
Absolutely.
starter or bench?
Bench.
Okay, that's mine too. Would have been a starter 2 years ago in my mind,
Yes.
but I think because of a gentleman we're going to talk about in a second,
Mhm.
I don't think you can put him there.
My big checkmate piece came through.
Yes. Amari Stoudemire. They list him as a forward and a center. I'm starting him at center. I think you have to start him at center.
Yeah. Stat starts at the 5
Yeah.
for this roster we're compiling.
He benefits from a weak group of centers, I think,
Does.
as well. But he starts there.
Mhm.
Steve Nash, point guard.
Steve Nash does make the roster. Obviously, that goes without saying. And he does start.
Okay. All right. Yes. Steve Nash starts for me. I was afraid you were going somewhere
For
else.
his tenure as a Sun, if we were speaking comprehensively career-wise, there's a different conversation.
Agreed.
But as a Sun, what was it, 2 MVPs?
Yeah. Yep.
There's nothing else to talk about there.
As a Sun. Shaq at center.
Mhm.
I think he's the only MVP of the All-Star game the Suns have. He's co-MVP with Kobe. But that was all narrative driven. This guy ain't making my team.
I'm glad somebody said it. It was a narrative.
100%.
He wasn't bad in it, but it was the whole, they're trying to mend over the whole Kobe Shaq situation and whatnot. It was cute and everything. Respect to it.
And him dancing with the jazz.
For sure. Respect to it.
It was all narrative.
Respect to it, for sure. But
no.
Nah. Not for the Suns years. Nah.
Devin Booker.
Yes.
Starting shooting guard?
Starting to, yeah.
Yes, I agree there. We're to the name that you and I are going to disagree on.
Mm-hmm.
One Christopher Paul.
Mm-hmm. He's on the roster, for sure. Starting, no. Steve Nash has the 1 spot. Devin Booker has the 2 spot. But as reserve, yes.
Tell me on why I should knock Jason Kidd off my list to put Chris Paul, Suns tenure, on my list.
The success seen and how much of a catalyst and driver of that vehicle that he was for the team. And not just managing the game, but also scoring. 14 for 14 in a closeout game against the New Orleans Pelicans in the playoffs to send them home. How many other countless clutch efforts after clutch efforts were seen in the playoffs to get them to the finals? Obviously came in tandem with Devin Booker, but we saw who got the best out of Devin Booker in that as well. And who also got the best out of DeAndre Ayton, who got the best out of the Twins, who got the best out of Monty Williams.
All fair.
Gave the team the most successful season in quite some time.
All fair, but
I'm just looking at all
Is that what
it.
makes an all-star?
If we're talking about his tenure as a Sun with Jason Kidd's tenure as a Sun, for me, yes.
Counting stats don't do anything for you because Jason Kidd averaged 14.4 points, 9.7 assists, 6.4 rebounds, and 2.1 steals as a Sun.
He did.
That I think All-Star is so much about counting stats that Jason Kidd should be on the bench as the second point guard. But you know what? I'm a kind and generous host. The internet doesn't seem to think so lately, but I'm a kind and generous host. I will forego my argument and give you CP3. All right?
Appreciate it.
I will knock Jason Kidd off the list.
I would say that he earned it, but
but unlike you and Gerald, I am still not putting CP3 in my ring of honor. Let's move. Yeah, that's a discussion for another day.
We saved that one for June and July.
For
sure.
We add one more name to the list. Kevin Wayne Durant. I think we both agree he's starting at the power forward position.
100%. Well,
or at a forward position.
At a forward position.
You could Barkley at power and Kevin at small.
Same
think
page.
You both work either way. So
So does Dick go to the bench then?
I think Dick Van Arsdale goes to the bench.
To revisit that one, yes.
Yes. Can you give us our starters here, Noah? Can you give us who that is, and then we'll take a look at the bench as well?
Yeah, so starting at point guard, Steve Nash.
Santa Clara
Following shooting guard, Devin Booker. At the forwards, we got Kevin Durant, Charles Barkley, boom, 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 bing, bong. And then at center, we have the best son to ever live. He has 4 bobbleheads in front of Espo and Stephen. Amari Stoudemire.
All right, so those are our starters. And so we've got 5 there, and then we've got 13 in total. We got to knock one guy off the bench. So, Noah, can you read through who we have on the bench? And then Stephen and I will unfortunately have to cut someone.
Let's see. We got Chris Paul at the bench spot.
Okay, that's a lock.
Sean Marion.
Lock.
Tom Chambers.
He might be on the
wild card.
bubble.
He's a wild card, yeah.
Okay, we got then Walt.
Okay, I think he's a lock.
Paul
Westphal.
Paul's in there.
Yeah, I think Paul's a lock.
Elvin Adams.
Alvin, I think, has to be
Mm-hmm.
in there as your backup center
Mm-hmm.
because you have nobody else.
Alvin's there.
All right.
If Shaq's not there, Alvin's
Shaq,
there for sure.
yep.
Charlie Scott.
Okay. I think you put Charlie as a wild card in there with Tom Chambers as a potential cut.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, we have Connie Hawkins.
Hawk has to be in there for me.
Hawk has to be in there.
Yeah.
Impact, first star in Phoenix, athleticism. Yeah, Connie's there. So we're down to Charlie Scott and Tom Chambers.
I honestly want to just flip a coin at this point.
If I'm looking at roster makeup, you have to keep Tom.
Yep,
because
for the shooting
purposes. And you just don't have a lot of size.
Yeah.
Like,
mm-hmm.
Plus, he had a mullet and short shorts, which is entertaining.
The kids call that aura.
I'm sorry, Charlie. You were on that team that beat the Suns in the finals, so you gone.
That works against you.
That works
Congrats
against
for
you.
doing your job.
You got traded, and it's your fault in my mind. So that is our team. We will post this on social as well, so you can take a look at our all-time Suns All-Star team. On the other side, we're going to share with you why we love basketball on this Valentine's Day. I also love winning money.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think everybody loves winning money.
Yeah. And at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, do you. And you can win money doing that too. I love it. And right now they are getting ready to give away a $350,000 Lamborghini. I can't imagine sitting in a car that's almost worth as much as my house, but I would love to. I'm never going to be able to buy one, but I'd love to win one. And you can do that every Friday in February. You'll have a chance to win cash, free bonus play, or qualify for the grand finale drawing and that Lamborghini. Weekly drawings are every Friday at 7 p.m. So you can head out there tonight, as a matter of fact, and take part in that. Join them for the grand finale on Saturday, March 1st at Wild Horse Pass, where one lucky winner is going to drive away in that Lamborghini and have to get insurance on it real quick as well.
Mm-hmm.
Don't miss your chance. This is your opportunity to experience the thrill of luxury and speed. Visit every Friday for your chance to win big. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. And the Carol Royce team has got you covered if you're trying to buy a new home with that money that you didn't want to spend on a Lamborghini. Carol Royce is one of the best in the Valley, and she is a guarantee, right? That she's going to take care of you in your home buying experience. I love Carol. I love her team. I've gotten a chance to get to know them. And quite frankly, when I go on my next home buying journey, which, you never know when that's going to come up, I'm going to use Carol Royce and her team because they are the most trusted in the Valley. And you know what? You can get in touch with her. Call that 480-776-5231 or visit carolroyceteam.com because they're going to take care of you if you're considering buying a home in 2025. The name to trust is Carol Royce. Your home sold guaranteed. Move up to one of our listings and we'll buy your home for cash. Have questions? Call today or visit Carol Royce online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com. So we are wrapping up this Friday edition of the PHNX Suns show. All-Star Weekend upon us. It starts tonight, the celebrity game, and then the Rising Stars Challenge, which has a little more oomph to it this year because the winning team is making it into that Sunday 4-team tournament thing they're trying this year. Ryan Dunn is playing tonight. He was a injury replacement in the Rising Stars game. My big hope is that he wins and we get to see him guarding Kevin Durant on Sunday. I can't be the only one that's rooting for the Rising Stars team to win this, right?
No, you definitely will not be alone on that. It's a lot of fun names on there. And for Suns rooting interest, it's all about Ryan Dunn. He's had a rough go at it, not by his doing, in my opinion, over the last couple of weeks. What better way to kind of work your way into making a name for yourself than to do it on the ultimate spotlight that is the All-Star weekend.
It'd be hilarious if he gets significantly more minutes than Bud's been giving him in this. But I feel like the NBA strategically did this so we all rooted for the Rising Stars team, which then motivated these NBA guys not to get shown up by the Rising Stars team, right?
There's posturing going on with that 100%. It's like, you guys are going to play. And if you're not going to do it off your own will, we're going to tweak it and make the competition side of this come out of it somehow.
Yeah, I feel like they should force Wemby to play on both teams. I think it's only fair. Right?
Hey, honestly, he could probably do it. What is he 20?
Yeah. One team gets to choose him for offense, one gets to choose him for defense, and he's just got to alternate.
Yep. Block shot, go down court, hit a three. Same thing he's doing with the Spurs right now. No different.
Yep. So I don't want to get into it. We've talked about our thoughts about how that's all going to play out, but would be remiss not to mention Ryan Dunn. But the way I want to wrap this up for the week, as we mentioned, it's Valentine's Day. I want to know, Stephen, and I want you to tell the people, how did you fall in love with the game of basketball?
It was Phoenix's draft pick. Was it 93? Michael Finley?
He was 96, I believe.
96.
Yeah.
Mike Finley, from my hometown, went to Powerhouse Basketball School, same school as Shannon Brown, Doc Rivers, a laundry list of other names that came through the NBA that went there. I went to his camp when I was younger. I think I was 4. I think 4 was my first year.
Damn, you were picking up a basketball at 4 going to Michael Finley's camp?
The ball was bigger than me.
That's amazing.
The ball was bigger than me for sure, but I was a little Jose Alvarado when I was 4. I couldn't dribble really. I couldn't really shoot because I wasn't strong enough. But I knew how to steal the basketball, and I could just stay in front of people. So I was just any dribble was getting plucked away, and I was going the other way, dribbling off my foot, trying to lay it up.
You got film of this? I need to see this.
There's film. Mom has the film out there somewhere because I made the All-Star team my first 2 or 3 years.
I'm calling up Mom. I'm getting this film.
I'm trying to listen. When I went home for Christmas break, I was trying to find it. I found the pictures, shared it with Espo. Couldn't find a video, but we will find a video.
I need to see
for sure.
Little Steven stealing the basketball.
For sure. I think I legitimately had like 7 or 8 steals in the All-Star game.
That's amazing.
I got the MVP and I won like a 30-inch TV. This is like 2001, 40-inch TV.
Nice.
So it's big by those standards back then.
Yeah.
Took that home with some of my cousins. It was fun. So Mike Finley gifted that to me, and watching all of the film he used to show us, like we knew he was a crazy athlete. We knew he could shoot threes. He wouldn't show us any of that. He would always show hustle plays. So diving on the floor for loose rebounds, loose balls in general, steals, diving into the stands. That's all like ingrained into my initial thoughts of basketball. Mike Finley naturally is one of my 7 favorite players ever. And I owe all of that to him. I wouldn't be here without his influence. And special player who actually has ties to my family, not related, but family members went to school with him and his siblings as well. All that Proviso East.
Is that how you got an interest in the Suns early on too? Because of Finley
it's funny how indirectly I was being fed Suns after Suns after Suns. Started with Mike Finley. Jason Kidd was my youngest uncle's favorite basketball player, and we used to always talk about it. So naturally with Kidd, I saw it as well. Steve Nash was my favorite point guard before Chris Paul got to the league. So naturally Suns after Suns after Suns.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So here we are now.
Especially for a Chicago kid who ended up falling in love with that.
A lot of late nights watching basketball games, sneaking and doing it past my bedtime.
I never like I always was spoiled out here, right? Because obviously Suns were at normal times, or if they were on the East Coast, I was watching them at 4 or 5, which was great when you're young and you go have an early bedtime. But I never thought about the experience of those in the Central and East Coast time zone trying to watch West Coast basketball.
Man, some full transparency, my 2 favorite point guards of all time, Chris Paul and Steve Nash, wasn't really old enough to start understanding the way that those 2 played until I got to like close to high school. So Nash being obviously mid MST or Pacific time when the time changes, and when Chris Paul is with the Clippers, those are all super late night games. So trying to watch them was a hassle. I used to get in trouble relentlessly. And I think it was all worth it considering where I'm at now, but it was a struggle for sure.
If you were watching on one of our TV providers, make sure to head over to gophnx.com. The fun always continues there, and we're going to continue our conversation now. Look, for me, I loved playing basketball. I remember when I was probably 2 or 3, I got a Dr. J indoor basketball hoop, right, with a little yellow ball, and I used to play indoors all the time. Like I don't remember watching a lot of basketball, but I remember that. I got this great photo from when I was little with that, and like I never saw Dr. J play, but Dr. J has a fond spot in my heart about basketball because of that. And then as I got older, Charles Barkley came here. I was 8 or 9 at the time, and it kind of captured my imagination with basketball because the Suns became that really exciting brand of basketball. And that's not to knock on like the Cotton Express. I was just a little too young to gravitate towards it. And then I got fully into basketball. I did not miss a game when I was a kid. Like I would watch, if I couldn't watch, I would listen because we didn't have cable. I'd listen on radio and fell in love with Al McCoy. And that's part of why I decided I wanted to get in this business. And then, I would just, it kept growing and watched it throughout the years, and then got lucky enough to work for the team, which blew my mind. Like if I could go back and tell, hey, 9-year-old Espo, that building that you used to love to get a chance to go to once a year, you're going to work in it and talk with the athletes, and you're going to meet Charles Barkley as part of this and have a genuine conversation and get a ticket stub from when you were 12 autographed by him. Like these things would have blown my mind. And those were all a big reason why I fell in love with the game early on. And it just kind of stuck with me. Now, obviously I wasn't destined to play. I thought, there was a time where I was like, oh, maybe I'll be the power forward for the Phoenix Suns. And then that time lasted about 3 weeks and I realized genetics screwed me. So I was like, how can I actually stay around it? I was like, talking. Al McCoy's about my height and talking is the way I'll stay in this. And it kind of worked out some days.
I was going to ask how did it feel when you got to the moment where you started working with the team? And you got to start bumping shoulders and elbows with all of these players that you admired or watched in some capacity growing up all of these years, like for all to kind of come full circle and now you're with the team.
It was crazy. Like you didn't like when you're sitting there and you're interviewing, Walter Davis and I interviewed Connie Hawkins before he passed away. Paul Westphal, I got a chance to interact with a lot of that 75, 76 team. The one I was actually nervous for was Barkley, like because there's a great deal of reverence. He's the guy that really brought me into basketball, and then it's Charles Barkley, right? So I was like super nervous the first time I met him, and I was kind of timid with it because I was like, you kind of revert to that time where you fell in love with the game, right? Yeah. I was like, Mr. Barkley, I know this is highly unprofessional, but I have this ticket from when you grabbed your 10,000th rebound. I was at the game when I was a kid. Would you mind signing it? He's like, that ain't unprofessional at all. Of course I'll sign it. He signed it and then gave me like 5-10 minutes at halftime to interview him. He was actually calling the game on TNT. Okay. It was one of the few that he did like a color commentator. And then after the game, I get a call and they say, one of my coworkers says, you're going to want to get over to Marley's right now. And I'm like, oh, I was going to go home to my wife. They're like, you need to get over to Marley's right now. Barkley's over here, Chambers, Marley, they're all hanging out and we got a table and you need to come over here now. It's like, all right. I didn't even finish the work I was supposed to do. I just left and I went over there and all of a sudden, interacting with all these guys. And when my friends goes, you want a picture with Charles? Yeah, I want a picture with Charles. So he pulls me behind the bar. It's him, me, and Chambers, and we take a picture. And I got that and the ticket stub he signed for me hanging up in my office. My wife framed it real nice, and that hangs up behind me to always remind me why I love this game, why I wanted to be in this business. And that was such a moment. And still probably one of the coolest things. But another thing that always really gave me the gravity of, oh my gosh, I work for the team. The team used to work out of the arena, right? They have a campus now, but I used to work on the 3rd floor of the arena. my office was right behind the suite level.
Mhm.
So I'd get out of the garage and I'd come in through the suite level every day.
Mhm.
And as I got to the door to go in the office, it opened up to the arena, right? And I
Mhm.
could see the Ring of Honor through it back when it was a physical boards on
Mhm.
the rim of the upper deck. And I would see Barkley, and I'd see Westfall, and I'd see Chambers, and I'd see all these greats from this team, Walter Davis, and and the like. And I would go, oh my gosh, I'm a very, 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 very small part of the history of this organization.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind. So
Yeah.
that was something for me. So
Yeah, that part that you spoke to, just walking into the concourse area or through any of the suites and just seeing the way that the arenas open up and whatever stuff different arenas has going on in the rafters or around the perimeter, it hits like a movie, like the opening
yeah.
scene of a movie. Especially if you're there and the stadium is relatively empty, because you can just kind of, your senses are heightened.
Oh yeah.
And it's always like a poetic type of moment. And that's one of my favorite things to do whenever I go to the different arenas, NBA or WNBA, just to take in the atmosphere before the seats are, occupied and everything. I can only imagine is being a Suns fan for so long and then obviously working with them and doing that every single day.
Yeah. That never got lost to me. I'd always try at a home game day to go down early in the day.
Yeah.
And kind of stand in the silence
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
look around and just take that in, because there's something relaxing. It's like meditative,
Mhm.
with
Absolutely.
it. So I'd do that, and a couple times I found the seat that I sat in
Okay.
as that 12-year-old
Yeah.
kid and watched
Yeah.
Barkley get that rebound, and I'd go sit in it to try to
Yeah.
remind me
Mhm.
we're lucky,
Yeah.
and don't try to lose that, and remember that those were the moments that had such impact on me as a kid, and that's why I loved it so much. And that's really the reason why any of us as 30, 40-year-old people still watch this, is
Mhm.
because of that moment we fell in love with it when we were a kid, and I tried not to ever lose that. So
That's important for anybody. Anything passion related, oftentimes it emanates from something that's our inner child. And you have to keep that alive. That's the way to break up the mundaneness of being an adult.
yeah.
That's important balance for anybody. So if you don't
Yeah.
have that, figure that part out for yourself and lean into it, because it's important to give you longevity.
Yeah, I think that that is definitely something you have to do, especially in a
Mhm.
world that likes to
Yes.
snuff it all out
Absolutely. Yep.
in you from a passion standpoint. I know we got a super chat, so let's take a look at that before we get out of here for the weekend. Leo asked, who's going to be the coach for the all-time Suns All-Stars, Monty or Mike? Since Westfall's on the team, it might be a little weird to coach yourself. So I'll take him out.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cotton ever coached the West. I could be wrong.
Mhm.
If Cotton coached the West, I probably would go with Cotton Fitzsimmons.
Mhm.
But I got to go Mike D'Antoni.
That's who I was gonna say. Just the winning.
And the system.
That's what I was gonna say. The winning, the impact, the way that we still see every single team in the league plays in a template that was taken or derived from what he brought to the league back then in the early 2000s. That speaks for itself. You literally can't tell the story of basketball without Mike D'Antoni.
Could you imagine?
Special.
Could you imagine KD and Barkley running with Nash and Book and Amari at center, running Mike D'Antoni's system?
Well, Mike D'Antoni would probably put KD at the 5,
Probably
quite
would.
honestly.
I don't know. If you have Amari, though?
The green light he was giving, yeah. I hear you. I just imagine Stat and KD in the same front court is crazy.
It's very crazy. That'd be fun to watch. Well,
sheesh.
Enjoy your All-Star weekend. Watch some basketball if you choose, or it's Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary. I'll be watching a bunch of that as well. So lots to do this weekend. We hope you have a great one. For Noah, behind the Mac, the minion behind the Mac, the muscles behind the Mac, the Central Michigan behind the Mac. He'll be having a fun weekend. We know that much. For Stephen, you can follow him at Stephen PG3. You can follow the show at PHNX Suns, at PHNX_Suns. I can't forget the underscore Suns. And then you can follow me at Espo. And remember, connect with that inner child when you watch some basketball. Remember why we all love this team. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.